Let's look at the newspaper headlines, and we begin on the front page of the Blueprint. The major headline here says, Presidential Town Hall Meeting. Tinubu absent, Okowa, Kwankwaso, Obi, Abiola proffers solution to insecurity. Tinubu absent, Okowa, Kwankwaso, Obi, Abiola proffers solution to insecurity. You find the details on the front page of the Blueprint. We move now to the First News newspaper. Presidential debate. Tinubu Atiku's absence sparks of audience's anger. Drama as only Obi, Kwankwaso, Kola Abiola attend. Participants boo Okowa, insists we want only presidential candidates. All the details on the front page of the First News newspaper. To the Punch newspaper now. Presidential Town Hall. Economy, security dominate as Atiku Tinubu skip debate. Economy, security dominate as Atiku Tinubu skip debate. Details on the front page of the Punch newspaper. To the Abuja Inquirer, Obi Okowa, Kwankwaso spar at Town Hall. Obedience protest against Okowa. NNPP plans 1 million army. We are selling trust. Labour Party speaking. We offer something different. PRP also speaking there. All of the details on the front page of the Abuja Inquirer. To the Nation newspaper now. Another governor threatens to quit Atiku campaign. Bala Mohammed, PDP presidential candidate, working against my re-election. Wike, Makinde, others to sustain opposition against ex-vice president. Autumn blasts Atiku. Details on the front page of the Nation newspaper. And on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper, ASUU plans to return to trenches as lecturers fume over October half salary. Paying lecturers half salaries unlawful, Serap tells Buhari. Konwa protests no work, no pay policy. Falana to Buhari, ignore Ngige. Pay ASUU members full February to October salaries. All the details on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper. And on the front of the Daily Times now, Buhari will leave Nigeria more prosperous, secure than he met it. Gambari. Buhari will leave Nigeria more prosperous, secure than he met it. Gambari speaking. Mike?
All right, I have the Leadership newspaper here. Excuse me, and it says, in breach of Electoral Act, INEC shields political parties over unaudited accounts. That's what the Leadership has. It said INEC shields political parties over unaudited accounts. Let's move to Nature News now. Excuse me. UN COP27 is the focus here. High expectations as climate summit kicks off in Egypt. High expectations as climate summit kicks off in Egypt. That's what the Nature News has. From there, let's go to Business AM. It says Nigeria watches as all signs point to global recession 2023. Nigeria watches as all signs point to global recession 2023. Analysts express concern for Nigeria, point out possible cushions. All right, all that you see on the front page of the Business AM. And Business Day is next. All right, and it says ghost of jilted forex subsidy reforms haunts Nigerians. Ghost of jilted forex subsidy reforms haunts Nigerians. That's a big story on the front page of the Business Day. All right. From there, let's go to Nigeria News Direct. Nigeria News Direct says the focus is 900 naira to $1 exchange rate. Revisit suspension of Bureau de Change operators from CBN window. APCON is offering some solutions or suggestions there, and it's on the 900 naira to $1 exchange rate. Says operators are not criminals, control only 3% of forex market. Confirms release of detained members' belongings. Okay, all that you see on the front page of the News Direct. National economy is next, and is focusing on forex arbitrage. Now he's saying profiting from bad situation, how speculators are benefiting from forex crisis. Profiting from bad situation, how speculators are benefiting from forex crisis. That's what the national economy is saying. Daily Trust is the last one now. Cost of living crisis. Civil servants engage in menial jobs to feed families. Civil servants engage in menial jobs to feed families. That's based on the cost of living crisis. Work as caterers, tricycle riders after work, boost production to lower inflation. Economists are suggesting this. That's what you see on the front page of the Daily Trust. Veronica.
All right, let's look at the story on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper with a focus on the ASUU, between the debacle between ASUU and the government, where it is reporting that ASUU plans to return to the trenches. Well, the National Executive Council of the association, or the union rather, is to meet today in Abuja to discuss the half salaries that they were paid this month, or for the month of October. We recall that we had this conversation last week, Friday, where we talked about the government paying ASUU half salaries for October, and then for medical lecturers, they were paid in full. Their backlogs were paid in full. And we also got report over the weekend that the members of CONUA, that's the Congress of Nigeria University Academics, were paid also half salary, and they are also protesting. And the government, speaking to this issue, has said that the lecturers under ASUU were paid pro rata. And for pro rata, it means that they were paid proportional to the number of days they worked. And so it still goes back to the no work, no pay issue that was being debated as a matter that the lecturers were looking into while the strike was on. And so for CONUA, the government has said that they can engage, the ministries, since they have a proof that they worked while the ASUU, members of ASUU were on strike. But then again, we're having this matter of no work, no pay. Reactions coming in, they are just saying that government should just put the labor minister aside in terms of Chris Ngige and pay these lecturers their salaries from February till October. Sam?
I don't know whether the government is enjoying this paralysis in the education system. There was this agreement they had when the Speaker of the House of Representatives met with ASUU. And I think this was one part of the issues addressed. So why would the government now renege on its own honor? It's not just reneging on its own promise, renege on its own honor to pay the salaries. I mean, why pay half salaries? Why don't you just pay the full? Why? Why do you have to create another crisis? There have been crises for more than half a year, and we thought that we're out of it, and then we are back to this situation. The government should actually put on its thinking cap and do something. I've been in support of the government in trying to say that, ASUU ought to get its acts together. But if a little thing like half salary, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
The issue there is, everybody would ask the question. At the point where the final meeting that was brokered by the Speaker of the House of Reps, what was agreed? Because it boiled down to just two things at that time. No work, no pay was one of it. And then the issue of UTAS and IPPS was another thing. But they are sure that those things were going to be resolved. So we assume that that issue was agreed upon, how it was going to be amicably resolved. And ASUU called off or suspended the strike. So at this point, going back to the same thing, I feel that we should as a country be able to, some of these little things, get them away from the road and move on to something bigger. Government is a god. Why do you carry little grudges of small things? Pay them their money, but let them know moving forward, next time, because in the good spirit we want everything to. But going forward, if this happens, blah blah blah, you can even make them sign an agreement on one hand, because if you have signed some agreement and you didn't abide by it and they are using it to hold you, you make them sign agreement too. You go on strike for whatever reason, whatever the thing is. So at a time like this, where we're still talking about the issue of no work, I don't think is right. I know that the laws talked about the issue of no work, no pay. right? But in the spirit of trying to reconcile and bring everything back to, because after all, why is ASUU striking in the first place? It's about the education sector. Let's look at the bigger picture. Go beyond all of this issue of oh, you didn't work, so you would. Get beyond there. Invest monies into education. All these things will not even come up in the first place.
But the Minister of Labour is saying their hands are tied. And I'm wondering, how is that?
Who's the rope and who owns the hand?
In my village, they will say you have the knife, you have the yam, you have the pot, you have the water, you have the fire. What are you talking about?
Right.
You have everything. So who is minister? Who is government? Your hands are tied by who? By God? Or by the United Nations? Or by African Union? Or by ECOWAS? Or by who? The point there is that you have the powers to do anything as far as this issue is concerned. So I feel that the federal government should go back to the drawing board. See, clear up this thing and let's clean up the system and move on a clean slate. That's what it should be.
It begs the question, actually, because, well, we don't know what the National Executive Council of ASUU will be, their decision would be later today when they have that meeting. And there are indications that perhaps they might return to the trenches in terms of going back on strike, but then would that be the way to go for them?
It might be the way for them to go. It might also be a way in which the government has browbeaten them. We want to see. Maybe they will say, okay, let us just hold on and see what's going on, because they may also be strike weary. But some of them love strikes by nature. Some of them, as we know, they like fight, because that is their bread and butter, is their bread of life. So they want to, okay, it's time for Aluta again, let's go.
And because the question has been
what
asked.
happens is that the education system suffers. That's the problem. The education system suffers.
That's it, because the question some Nigerians have been asking is, what have they achieved with the strike if we are still coming back to this whole situation?
We had Professor Okebukalaye not long ago talking about university ranking. And we saw the report last week about how well our universities did in the last ranking in various areas.
Yes.
Major universities, Ife, Nsukka, Lagos, Ibadan, they did very well. Did very well in the rankings. One of them. So when you have this kind of good news in the background, and you have people to say, okay, this is the nature of our education. Our education is very good. So let's encourage our schools to go on, so that people will start going back to school and then take their children to Ghana, to London, to the US. The rankings of some of these our schools are better than the ones they are going to abroad. Unless you are taking your child to Harvard and Princeton and Emory or Yale or Oxford or Cambridge and so on. Unless you are doing that, I mean, for most part, our universities seem to be doing well, because the best university for Nigeria are Nigerian universities, because they understand Nigeria best. Yes. Because most of those universities who rank high in those places are ranking high on researches based on their own communities for most part. Right. And apart from the science ones. Even people say even in medicine, the best doctors for Nigeria are Nigerian doctors. But they understand what pepper soup can do to your body. You know? So it's true.
Uncle Sam, this is a serious issue. So doctors understand how pepper soup works.
Yeah, it good for my body because you don't eat clam chowder, yeah? And that's what they eat there, you know?
Interesting.
But seriously, I think...
For the lecturers, what way do you think they should go?
No, the point there is, strike is the only language they know. They are unionists, they are activists, you know, so... Aluta is part of their DNA when it comes to unionism, whether at the lecturer level or at the association level. Aluta is what they understand. Konoa is coming up with a more refined approach to some of these engagements. But the point there is that government, when it comes to negotiation, government negotiates always from the perspective of strength, and they want to keep it that way. So if you were negotiating from that part of the side, you would always like to whip the other person into what you want. So whether Konoa is going to be able to get what they want from that kind of just civil diplomatic engagement is totally a different thing, because everybody needs to have something to force the other person to come to the table.
Right.
So ASUU, as far as they are concerned, strike is what they have as a weapon to bring government to the table.
And the government doesn't have Conwa as a counterweight to ASUU in this matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Is my friend.
All right, but we have
Anyway,
to
but in the coming days, maybe we might see more
engagement.
ASUU members becoming members of
Konwa.
Konwa.
Yes.
We may see that. From the back door, you see a lot of them joining Konwa.
Because the optics may not be good for ASUU to say they are going on strike because of half salary.
Yeah.
The optics may not be good, but then the optics is not good for government. Government does not care. That's the tragedy
Exactly.
about the optics. Government does not care anymore. Almost like you guys can go to them.
Yeah.
My children are abroad. You let the poor deal with the poor.
But we will see more state universities also being independent from ASUU, all of those things will begin to happen. And the moment it happens like that, it will change the dynamics of the way ASUU engages.
Absolutely.
Yes.